Hi, welcome to Scrapbook Pals YouTube channel. I'm Kara, and today these ocean friends are going to strike a pose for a Shell-fie. So we're using ocean Shell-fie and the coordinating lawn cuts, build an aquarium, and we're using some silver paper for that, and the picture frame from the Magic Iris Camera Pull Tab add-on in white, the Ocean Wave stencils, and the Hillside stencils. We're using watercolor wishes and really rainbow, a piece from each, and it's time to put this card together. So I'm starting by just marking out where the tank inside would be so that I can keep within those borders. And I'm taking my Hillside stencil and I want to make a, well, kind of like those pebbles or that gravel at the bottom of the fish tank. And so I'm using carved pumpkin and ripe persimmon, and I'm blending them on the paper with a life-changing blender brush by Picket Fences. And then with this ripe persimmon, I'm just dabbing a little bit onto my stencil, spritzing that with water, and I'll take a paintbrush and flick that all around just to give kind of a speckled look to that border, that base. Now I'm taking the reverse side of that same stencil so that I can have a base for my waves. And I won't get any on the gravel this way, but starting with that first wave and then changing to another one, I'm using tumbled glass for this, for all of the waves. So I'm using all three of those wave stencils to get a different look. And now I'm going to get that border, that base by the Hillside stencil, and just kind of blend everything in a little bit more. And now with Salty Ocean, I'm just bringing up that color and kind of blending it again just to give it more of a cohesive look. So here is my fish tank all set to go, and I'm going to clip those corners. I want to figure out where those are and just mark them with a pencil and clip them off with my scissors. Now I'm using Lawn Fawn's glue tube to put the base and the top onto the aquarium. Now there are two different styles. There's a short one and a long one, so your tank could be horizontal or vertical, and so I'm doing the horizontal one today. I'll set that all aside then, and there's what it looks like with the water inside. It's time to start stamping the images. The top of the stamp set has everybody looking to the side, and the bottom part, everybody's looking forward. I'll use Lawn Fawn's Jet Black ink because I will be Copic coloring, and that is Copic friendly. Just ink up those images and stamp them down in the Misty. And I stamped them a couple of times to get a nice crisp image, but I'm really just showing the one time. Here I'm putting down the frame to see where I want those images inside. And I've got the octopus and his two friends, and I'm putting them on top because they're going to be in front. And so this way I can place it where I want, put that door down, and pick it all up and just pull off that octopus, and I've got those the fish and the jellyfish right where I want them, and I'll stamp those out, and I want them in front of the octopus, so I'm putting on a mask. This is just some sticky note that I've stamped on and cut out, and I'm putting that over them so that my octopus looks like he's behind them. And anytime you want a mask, it's always what you want in front, stamp first. So front first, and then stamp in layers behind. Now I can take off those masks, and my fish and jellyfish are in that photo along with the octopus behind. Now here again, I'm kind of deciding where my picture ends so that I can know how far out to color. And I'm using a BV00 to find those shadows where it's going to be darkest, and I'm coloring around the other images so that I don't mistakenly color those images when I really just want to color the octopus. Now that I know where all my shading will be, I can come in with my darker color. This is a BV04, and just go over where I had those the lightest color, but I'm really staying more into the very edge of the shadows with that. I had to take the cap off of my other side of my marker because my ink was getting a little bit drippy, and so if you take both caps off of the marker, it releases a pressure and it won't drip on your project. So that's why I did that. But now that I have all of those shadows in, I'm going to blend them out with the BV02 and just bring that towards the rest of his body. I'll blend that even more with the BV01 and just follow along with those same shapes that I created with the shadows. And then with the BV00, I'll blend it into the rest of his body. Once it was fully blended, I thought I could go darker. And so this is the BV04, and I'm just putting it in the very edges, the very darkest parts of the shadows, and then I will blend that all the way back out through the same process. I'll use the BV04, 02, 01, and 00 to get it all nicely blended together. Once he's done, next I'll move on to the fish, and our fish friend is going to be a Y13, and I'm finding my shadows with that, and then I'll move on to the darkest, the Y17, and then blend both of those together with the Y15, and then finish shading the rest of his body with the Y13. And then the jellyfish is going to be an RV02, and I'm finding the shadows with that. And then I'll move on to my darkest one, and that is the RV06, and just cover those same places. And I like to use the lighter one to find my shadows, because if I don't like where I put them, I'm not committed to it. So now I'm just blending that in with the RV04, and then I'll blend that back further into the body and all the way with that RV02. And again, with this little guy, I decided I could go a bit darker, and so I bring out the RV09 and add that to the darkest part of the shadows, and then I'll blend that all the way through back with the lighter colors like I did with the octopus. Now I'll turn the page and color the other images, and I colored them just the same way that I colored the ones in the photo, but this time it's the images that will be in the fish tank. And so I'm going to cut these out with the coordinating die cuts, and then they will be placed in the fish tank or the aquarium. And then the photo is the way it would appear when they took their Shell-fie. I wasn't sure at this point if I was going to use the seaweed and the rocks. I'd stamped them out, but I waited to see if they would work in the arrangement in the tank. So now you can see where I put those shadows on the octopus, and it's time to color his camera. So I used a C3 and then just a C00 for the lighter parts, keeping the camera pretty neutral. And then the lens, I did that in a B00. I have the coordinating lawn cuts, and I will run them through my Big Shot die cutting machine. So here they are all cut out and ready to go in the tank. And I could cut the photo out two different ways. I could just cut around the size of the photo frame and layer it, but I'm going to use the die and cut out the center. And now I'm going to color in the back of that. This again, I could do two different ways. I could mask off my images and ink blend the same way that I did the fish tank. Or this way, I am using a 000, which color matches the ink that I used in the tank, and then just go all the way around where I think there's water behind them, and then color match the rocks or gravel as well with a YR15 and a YR16, and I'll shade around the sea creatures and also create some texture like the speckly rocks by dotting it with my marker, and also put in some dots with the R14 and then blend over that with the YR16. And now to make the waves kind of show up, I'm using a B00 and making sweeping horizontal lines across the photo so that the waves are also in front of the ocean creatures. That way it looks like they're in the water, not in front of the water. And Copic markers are great for this because they layer and you can see the images behind. It's translucent, so I didn't lose any of the look of the characters by putting lines across them. All right, so now it's time to put our friends all in the tank, and I want to make sure that they are in the same position as they are in the photo. And I'm not going to adhere them down yet. I want to see how it's going to look on the front of my card. So I need to make that card base. So it's a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base, and I'm putting on a piece of the watercolor wishes and a piece of the really rainbow. The purple will be kind of a grounding for my aquarium, the floor, if you see this as a very large aquarium, which would hold an octopus, or a table if it was just a mini octopus and this is your home aquarium. So now that I have that kind of where it needs to be, I can see how they look, and if I push them over to the left, I do have a little extra room in that aquarium for some extra images. So I'm going to color up the seaweed and those rocks so that I can have a little bit more going on in the aquarium. And I'll use the YG21 and 23 and 25 to shade and color my seaweed. And I'm not worried about adding this green as an additional color into the mix because this is such a bright tank full of fish that it really just looks like it belongs, and it's the same kind of brightness with these YG20s. All right, and then the rocks, I'm just going to color them with the same Copic markers that I used in their photo on the floor, the little pebbles. So I'm not going to add in any additional colors with these rocks. They're just going to blend in with the bottom of the aquarium. I'll cut these out with the coordinating dies, and they're all set to go. So I'll see where I want them in the aquarium and position everything. I think this set is so clever because of the two positions of those octopi, or all the fish. You know, there's the ones that are looking sideways and then the ones forward, and you could use them together on something else, but I just think it's so fun that you can make this kind of selfie photo with them. But now I want to put on the sentiments, and I'm using Smile, and I'm also using You Take the Best Shell-fies on the bottom, and I ink those up in jet black ink and stamp them on the background, and now I can start adhering everything together. And the one thing about this sentiment I think is so funny is that I've taken selfies with friends and family before, and I do not want to be the one holding the camera because I look so much bigger than everybody else behind me. So I love that the octopus with his very long arms can take that Shell-fie for those guys. But I do know a lot of people that can take fantastic selfies, and so this card could go really easily to one of those people, and it can go for an all occasion, but it can be a birthday card. I could write happy birthday inside, or I could even slip in a photo of a selfie that we took together. All right, well, I used some Tombow foam tape to pop up that photo, and I put the foam tape partially on the photo inside and partially on the frame so it holds the whole thing, and I can just layer it right on top. Now I have it going down off the card a little bit, so I'm just going to clip that off with my scissors, and I can arrange all the sea creatures so they're ready to strike a pose. I'm adhering everything with my Tombow Mono dot adhesive runner and also with Lawn Fawn glue, just depending on which image it is. And there they are. Put in the final little rock, and this card is all set. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video today and it inspired you to make a little shelfie for yourself. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it, and subscribe to the Scrapbook Pal channel. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Bye!